Welcome to this podcast, Holistic Creators, where we share our unique and universal stories about shaping the future for the 4 Ps: people, planet, purpose, and profit. My name is Swanette Kuntz. I'm a mental coach and your host of this show. My intention for this show is to inspire you on your path to a holistic future. So welcome. Hello, and welcome to my podcast, Holistic Creators. My name is Swanette, and I'm your host. Today, I have a very special guest. It is Dr. Beverly, and she is a licensed acupuncturist, speaker, metaphysician, shamanic healer, author, teacher, hypnotherapist, spiritual counselor, and solopreneur. And also, she is the founder of Dancing Bear Enlightenment Academy, Dancing Bear Healing Center, and DBEA Consulting. She has a YouTube channel on holistic and spiritual healing, a book that is called Meditation Demystified, a workbook for everyone, and an at Dancing Bear Enlightenment Academy. So welcome to my show.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Yeah, I'm really happy to have you here, and I'm kind of curious. So, what has been your own history, your story that brought you where you are right now? Please tell us a little bit about that.
Okay. Yeah, it's been a challenging life, a very difficult childhood, and I went into the high-tech industry for about 30 years, got very, very sick, and I was an atheist back then, and I was getting sicker and sicker and sicker, and I had so many things wrong: cancer, fibromyalgia, leaky gut, irritable bowel syndrome. I had chronic headaches. I lived on Excedrin and Maalox, and I thought I had a good diet. I used Western diet. I'd taken classes, and I was going into anaphylactic shock several times a week, being rushed to the hospital. I was rescued off Angel Island by ranger boat and off Mission Peak by helicopter because I like to hike up the mountains every Saturday morning. And finally, the emergency room doctor said, "I'm really tired of seeing you in here." And I said, "Well, I've been to so many doctors. I have a whole huge giant purse full of medicine. What do I do?" And he says, "Well, go see an allergist." So, I had really good health care, and I had lots of money from my work. And so I researched who was the best allergist in the whole Bay Area, because there's lots of really great hospitals and doctors there. So I found the best doctor, and I went to her. She was in Fremont. She spent an hour with me, and at the end of the hour, pardon my dog, he's a puppy, and he's going crazy right now. He wants me to play with him. And at the end of the hour, she looked me in the eye and said, "I can't help you." Well, by now, I've had 5 near-death experiences. I'm desperate. I don't know what to do. It's like, if I keep on the path I'm on, I'm going to die. And so I went to a gynecologist that I'd known for years, that I trusted. I'd had a hysterectomy from him years earlier, and I thought maybe he can help. So I went to see him, and he said, "You need to meditate." And it's like, ooh, you tell an atheist to meditate. That's like a dirty word. And I thought, well, I'm desperate. I don't know what to do. So I asked around people I knew. A friend gave me a book. I read it, and I said, "Well, this seems harmless." And he said, "Go to this place, and they'll teach you." And so I went there, and they said, if you meditate twice a day for 20 minutes, in 2 weeks this will happen, in 2 years this will happen, and in 2 months, I'm sorry, 2 weeks, 2 months, and then 2 I can't talk. 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years. And he said, if you're really, really lucky and you're diligent, in 10 years, these kinds of magical things can happen in your life. I thought, well, okay, what have I got to lose? Well, at 2 weeks, I was at 2 months. At 2 months, I was at 2 years, and I was having unbelievable experiences. I realized there is a divine presence. I was immediately no longer an atheist. And I realized who I was, where I was from. I'm a starseed, why I came here. I started remembering my past lives. And I realized I was behind because I should have gotten divorced from a very abusive marriage years earlier, and I needed to catch up. And I started studying everything under the sun. I studied with 2 living Buddhas, a Taoist master. I enrolled in mystery schools. I've been to 4 mystery schools. I'm still in one. And at some point, I realized I'd caught up. So I was no longer behind in what I was supposed to do. Now I needed to do a lot of personal work. But during that journey, I started to heal. I had a spontaneous healing of the cancer through a shamanic journey. Some angels and Raphael came in and it just went away. The doctors went, I don't understand this, your cancer's gone. Then I realized, by then I was a hypnotherapist and I'd opened a healing practice because friends saw me changing and they said, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm doing this and this and this. They asked me to help them. I said, sure. And then I'm helping friends of friends, and then friends of friends of friends. And then a stranger called, and we went back 6 people. And I didn't know any of them. And she said, what do you charge? I said, well, I don't charge. I've just been helping friends. And she gave me money. So I started a healing center. At that time, it was called the Dancing Bear Alternative Healing Center. And I did shamanic healing and energy healing and hypnotherapy and NLP and all kinds of stuff. And I realized through my ignorance, I could hurt somebody because maybe they really should be referred to a doctor. You know, alternative healing doesn't always cure everything. Sometimes you actually need a doctor. And by then I was getting older, and high tech is really a young person's industry. And it was very stressful, and I wanted to get away from the stress. So I decided to go to medical school, as if that's not stressful. So I went to naturopathic medical school, fell in love with acupuncture. I didn't like their program, so I'm going to 2 medical schools at once. I'm going to an acupuncture school and a naturopathic school, but I've dropped their acupuncture program. And after 3 years, I decided I would be just happy being an acupuncturist. So I left the naturopathic program. And eventually I graduated from acupuncture school, and I started the Dancing Bear Healing Center without the alternative part in it. So I reopened as Dancing Bear Healing Center. I did that for over 10 years. I even taught for over 5 years at that same naturopathic school because I went back and was teaching acupuncture because I wanted their program to be better. So I went back there. But then COVID happened, and unfortunately I had to shut down my business. Well, in the meantime, I'd written my book in 1999, and then I republished it in 2019. And I thought, I'm going to take all these classes that I've been doing in person and take them online. And so I created the app, and I created the Dancing Bear Enlightenment Academy. And the ADBO consulting part is my consulting company that I had when I was in the high-tech industry. So I still help people go online, but that's not my main focus anymore.
Okay, wow, what a story. I'm so curious about, you said you had 3 near-death experiences, and even at that time, there was nothing happened that you already got your awakening moment. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Well, my first NDE was when my daughter was born, and I was an atheist. And she was born too fast, and I started to hemorrhage. And so I actually spent more time in surgery than I did in labor. And I was awake during the surgery. Have you ever been awake during surgery? I've been awake during 2 surgeries. I'll tell you the other story later. But I was awake. So I'm laying there, and I'd lost a lot of blood. After the delivery, I knew something was wrong. And I kept telling them, there's something wrong, go get the doctor. They said the doctors left the hospital. My husband was in the room. And there was about 5 nurses around me that kept trying to take my blood pressure, and there was other nurses doing I don't know what. And I called my husband over and I said, go get the head nurse, there's something wrong. And so he went and got the head nurse. Now this part he told me because I blacked out. He said the nurse came in and pushed on my abdomen, and he said blood went everywhere. There was just blood because I was hemorrhaging internally. And so I'm going in and out of consciousness while they take me down to the to surgery. And they couldn't knock me out because they didn't know what drugs they'd given me during the delivery. So that's why I was awake. Usually you're not awake during surgery. So I could hear them talking and everything. And then they were moving away from me. And I went, why is everybody moving away from me? And I tried to raise my hand, and I realized I couldn't raise my hand. I didn't have a hand. And then I realized I wasn't breathing. And then I realized they're not moving away from me. I'm moving away from them. It was like bizarre. You know, I'm an atheist, so I don't believe in crap. And this was a long time ago, and they believed that this was all hallucinations. And so I'm in this white tunnel, and I start screaming. Of course, it's not out loud because you can't scream out loud. No, I had a baby. I can't go. I'm not going. And then nothing. And when I come to, I think I'm still in the tunnel, and I realize, oh, I'm looking up at this white light on the ceiling. And the anesthetist was sitting next to me, and I don't remember her name, and I couldn't see her face. I could barely see anything. But she said, you're lucky to be alive. What modern medicine saved you? And she went on how many pints of whole blood and plasma and IVs they'd given me. And I didn't know much about medicine back then, but when I went to medical school, I went, oh, they replaced pretty much everything in my body, that I had lost everything. So that was the first one. Now that was before Daniel Brinkley had written his books, or I'd heard anything from him, because he's done a lot of work on NDEs. And my second NDE was induced. I went through a 3-year residential shamanic training program, and you can't be a shaman without an NDE, so they induced one. So that was the second one. Then the next 3 were when I was really sick, and actually I had actually the 3 came before the shamanic one, because I was already a shaman when I went through that. I got that a little out of order. But the 3 were when I kept going into anaphylactic shock. And in those NDEs, there was no white tunnel. So I never quite understood. And then a couple years ago, I heard Daniel Brinkley talking, and he said, it's typical for Americans to go into the white tunnel. But in other countries around the world, that is not the typical NDE. And I went, oh, that explains why it's different for me. And as a shaman, I was at Esalen for 2 weeks with Sondra Ingerman and Michael Harner. And we did a journey to where human souls go after death. And it was a completely different experience. And the 3 that I had later, I kept going to the Akashic Records. And the first time I went, there were thousands of people there with me. And they were dressed in clothing that I could tell they were from different centuries of humanity. You know, they weren't Westerners necessarily. They weren't modernly dressed. They were in all kinds of different clothes. And they were all mad at me. You know, it's like, oh my God, all these people I've pissed off over the years. And then I said, doesn't anybody like me? I mean, you know, it was pretty traumatic the first time. Way in the back, a couple of people raised their hand and said, she's okay. Crap, I got to clean up my past lives. I've got to clean up all the shit I did. And pardon my French, I hope you don't mind that word. But as I started remembering my past lives, I started realizing I'm doing the same mistakes every time, over and over and over. And I said, I don't want to remember anymore. This is too much. I'm going to clean up this life. So I really worked on this life. You know, I spent 4 years in therapy. Then I spent another 9 months with a regression therapist. And we literally completely rescripted that nasty childhood and abusive marriage I had. And we turned it all into positive lessons. And in one experience, my therapist had to teach me how to feel. Because when I was 12, something, a whole nother story we won't go into, I turned off all my feelings because it was too painful. It turns out I'm an empath today. I go, no wonder I had to turn my feelings off. I couldn't have survived that crap. And so he would say, you know, when this happened, what did you feel in your body? Well, I felt this. He said, well, that's anger. Okay. Well, when this happened, what did you feel? Okay, that's sadness. I mean, he literally had to teach me how to feel. So imagine you're 40 years old and you're learning to feel. I felt like a high school kid, you know, when your hormones change and you're kind of all screwed up. And what do you do with those feelings? I went through that for quite a few years. Well, when I'm working with a regression therapist, he said, I want you to call in all the people who love you. And I went, well, no one loves me. I'd never felt love. And we didn't cover that with my hypnotherapist. And he says, well, yeah, there's people that love you. Just look around you. Because, you know, this is all third eye work because I'm in a trance. And I'm looking around and there's, you know, my parents are there. I thought, how can my parents be here, you know? And I said, no, I don't feel any love. I could see all the people. And he said, well, keep trying. So I called on my solar angel. I said, I need help. I need to feel love. And she said, well, will you allow me to send you love? I said, okay. I don't know if I can talk. So I said, okay. Well, I'd never felt it, and it was overwhelming. I just started crying. I mean, look at me now. It was a profound moment. Then I could feel everyone else's love. And then we created a filter so that I could filter out all of the negative energy that my parents had sent me. Because, you know, my parents had rough lives. You know, people do their best. Just because we have trauma from their best doesn't mean they didn't try. And based on where they came from, they did their best. So I could filter out all of their crap, because that was their stuff, and just feel the love. And that was a profound day for me. And when I went outside, that was the first time I literally saw through. All I could see was light. When I looked at trees, it was just light. They're streaming out of the trees. And when I looked at anything, all I could see was light. And I went, holy cow. Because I've always been able to see through things. But I saw, you know, like we had a concrete patio when I was a kid. This is when it first happened. I could see through the concrete, and I could see the little furry animal down below and all the tunnels that it dug and everything. But I'd never seen the light through everything. And this time I could see the light, and then I got in the car and looked in the mirror, and I was light. It was like, holy cow. So it was very, very transformative for me, and I just want other people to be able to heal their stuff. And of course, I spent the next couple of years doing forgiveness exercises. I still do forgiveness exercises, but back then I was doing them almost all day long, writing them down, you know, who did I hurt, and writing it down, and doing forgiveness, sending healing energy, and just trying to unravel all that old karma. And then I started remembering more past lives after that, because I'd cleared that. And as I had more near-death experiences, there were fewer angry people and more happy people. By the time I had the third one, it was more happy people than angry people. So I knew what I was doing was the right thing, and I needed to keep doing it. And once you have those experiences, you don't want to hurt anybody anymore. But by the same token, you want people to wake up. Sometimes you just have to be honest with people. And it hurts. You know, if you lie to someone, it makes them mad. If you tell the truth, it really pisses them off.
Okay,
And
it depends a little bit how you communicate it.
yeah,
What I always do before I'm telling people the truth is I'm asking if they're willing to listen to that. So
well,
they
yeah, they have to.
yeah, to give me the allowance to speak what I can, what I see, be the mirror or something like that.
I actually,
Otherwise, you piss off people, and we don't want to do that. So now
no, they
some
have
people.
to ask me. I don't volunteer. I just say, okay, I know where they're coming from and I let it go. If they want to know, they have to ask me. And no matter how you sugarcoat it, people don't want to face what it is, because if they were willing to face it, they would have already fixed it. And, you know, I've been there, done that. I know what it's like to have to face your crap. And it's not easy. But yeah, that's what I do now. I try to help people, and so I have programs that where people can discover for themselves, because I find that's the easiest way to deliver the message, is when you either go into a past life or go into a meditation and you see and experience it for yourself. That's when really deep healing can happen.
You spoke about one gift you had as a child, like looking through things, and also you said you are able to read the Akashic records. So are these gifts you had really from your childhood on, or is it something that you learned or trained? How does this work?
Well, I was raised Southern Baptist, so I didn't tell anybody. You know, you know, everything moves, because I could see things moving. It's like everything was made out of little ants, because nothing was stable. You know, I'd look at a table and I'd say, that's not solid. And, but you don't go around telling people, you know, you're 12, 14 years old. You don't tell people, you know, that table's not solid when you're a Southern Baptist. And then as an atheist, I just shut it all down because I couldn't deal with it, because I had no one to talk to. But then as I got older and started my spiritual training, I went, oh, and I turned all this stuff back on. I had turned off my third eye. I'd turned everything off. And when I was in the shaman training, there's a game shamans play where you create two teams. So we had a big class, you know, 50 something people. So we'd divide ourselves up into two teams, and each team picked a representative. And one team would hide a token in one of their two hands. And you'd have the hands behind your back, and your team knew which hand the token was in. Then you put your hands out, and the other team picks a person to figure out which hand it's in. So their team is to help their person see through my hands. And my team's job is to block the other team from seeing into my hands. Well, they kept picking me over and over to be the person to figure out which hand the other team had their token in, because I could see through the hand, and I almost always got it right. It's like, oh, it's that hand. So, you know, it is a gift that I have, to be able to see into things, see through things. I don't know for sure why I have that gift, or it just came with me. So a lot of the things that I had as a child, I turned off until I became spiritual again. Then I knew why I had them and what to do with them. I became a medical intuitive because I could see into the body. I knew what's going on with people. Sometimes people would come to me and say, I have a problem, and I'd touch them somewhere, and they'd go, you just put your hand right where it hurts. You know, it just knew stuff. But now science has said, oh yeah, there's all this space and nothing is really solid, and go, oh, that's why I looked like nothing was solid. So yeah, I had those gifts, and probably with different parents they would have evolved, but I'm glad that everything happened the way it did, because I can appreciate now where people are coming from. Either they were raised in a strict religious environment, they were an atheist, whatever, because I've been there. I understand those feelings. I understand why people get that way. And I don't try to change people's belief system. If you're an atheist, you're an atheist. If you're a strict religion, I even had Muslims take my programs, because my goal isn't to change your belief system or your religion. It's just to help you on your path, whatever that help is. And it's different for everybody because we're each an individual soul on a unique journey. And so I just want to help people on that journey in whatever way is most appropriate for them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so what are the topics people come with? Like, is it like you had problems with the health, or is it more also that they're in the process of a spiritual awakening and don't understand what is going on? So what are normally the topics people come with?
Well, I have a pathway, a process that I give people, and it depends on where you are and what you need. But it starts with meditation. So my first program is meditate regularly, and why you should meditate, and different kinds of meditation. Because depending on where you are in your spiritual path and what's going on in that moment, you may need different meditations. Now, some people say, oh, I already know how to meditate and this is what I do. Well, do you know what to do when you're under extreme duress? Do you know what to do when you have monkey mind and you just can't settle it down? Because a lot of people say, oh, I used to meditate and I quit because this or that. Well, that means they didn't have the meditation technique to use for that issue at that point in their life. So my first program says, here's a whole bunch of different meditation styles and when to use them. And that's what's in my book. Is all kinds of different meditation styles and resources in terms of books and online where people can go and get even more information on that particular style and when to use them. And then my first workshop series is, sorry, seem to be losing my voice. So my first workshop series, 6-week program, is overcoming obstacles or barriers to success, and which meditation style to use for that obstacle. It could be emotional, it could be non-emotional, it could be you don't know who you are in terms of your soul path. Sometimes people take that class and they say, oh, their soul path is to be nice. No, that's a state of being. That's not a soul path. So I help people find out who they really are and why they incarnated. Some people don't believe in reincarnation. That's okay. We can still create a path for your spiritual journey, whatever language you want to use. So that's the first step. Then I take people who want to go into more advanced topics, and I have a 1-year program that can lead to a certification as a spiritual coach. And we go into energy healing. So many people think Reiki is the end all. I've studied with several Reiki masters. After I got my Reiki 2 certification, I just remembered I already knew Reiki. But I still studied with 4 Reiki masters. And my first mystery school focused on meditation and energy healing. And I learned, I have never even counted how many energy systems I learned there. And he was looking for teachers. And I says, oh, I'd love to be one of your teachers. And he says, no, you have a different life path, and you're going to be bringing in your own energy systems. And I said, oh, wow. Well, I was kind of hurt because I really liked the Irving First and his programs. But I thought, okay. And sure enough, after I studied with the 4th Reiki master, I was told, that is how you teach energy. The other teachers weren't teaching you the right way. That's why we wanted you to study with them to see what not to do. Now you do know what you should do. And never teach Reiki without also teaching Green Goddess Reiki. And boom, I got this new energy system. So now when people want to learn Reiki, and I've taught Reiki a number of times, but I also give them Green Goddess Reiki. Well, then when I started teaching my 1-year program, all of a sudden other beings were coming to me and giving me other energy systems and downloads. So I think I have 5 energy systems now that are in my 1-year program. So part of it is learning energy healing and learning to meditate with those energies. And I do a lot of regression type therapies in the program. And then I teach a lot of other things like essential oils and just other things that people can either use personally, or if you're like a coach or a professional, you can add those techniques to your own programs. Because I can only teach so many people, but if I can teach other people who are teachers, then they in turn can take that information out and benefit from my experiences and my training. And because I've spent literally thousands of hours and, well, hundreds of thousands of dollars and thousands of hours training and learning and what have you, and I just now share that with everybody. So you get it without doing all the expenses and time that it took me to do it. So that's my goal, is help as many people as I can who want to in turn go out and help others.
Yeah, so one thing is, of course, teaching other people and also to bring out the message and the techniques. But who are the people, for example, that ask you for, I don't know if you do one-on-one sessions, for example, if they have certain problems with their health, or if they feel that they are stuck in their life, or they want to figure out the soul purpose, or whatever the question can be. Are you also giving one-on-one sessions for these people?
I do one-on-one, not that often. Most people take the classes because you get a lot more for your money that way. Right now, my healing center, I had to shut down, and I'm in the process of setting that up online. So I'm getting the Enlightenment Academy up first, and then I'll focus. I still have patients calling me, and if they want acupuncture, I have to refer them, but I will be setting up an online program through the Healing Center where I teach people how to use acupressure and essential oils on the pressure point to heal themselves. So I can do that online. So, and then I'm started another book on how to do self-healing with the acupuncture points and either herbs or essential oils. I do have a standalone class called the Herbal Medicine Cabinet, and that I teach separately, and it's what herb formulas should you have in your medicine cabinet instead of using over-the-counter drugs, which have terrible side effects. Read the small print. I always tell my patients, which organ don't you want? Your stomach, your liver, or your kidneys? Because all of those painkillers and other pills you're taking over the counter will destroy one or more of those organs. And once you destroy your liver, you can't live. I mean, it's like your heart. You can't live without your heart. So kidneys you have two, at least. At least most people have two. So you can get by with damaging one, but liver and heart you've got to take care of. And oh, I'm sorry about the dog.
No problem.
So that program is coming. It's not quite ready. But in terms of spiritual counseling, I am a certified spiritual counselor. And so I do online counseling. When I had my alternative center, I used to travel around the country doing readings and helping people. And I had an international clientele back then. I had to shut that down when I went to medical school because I just couldn't keep it up. So I'm in the process of restarting that. I don't have a link right now, but if you go into my email list right now. Chandler, be quiet. Sorry about my dog. Just like November, come here, come here, come here, come here, come here.
Yeah, come into the camera. Let's see.
I'm trying to catch him. He wants to play.
If he already speaks with us. Oh, okay. Oh, cute one.
Like November 9th. Okay, look at the camera, not me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
on November 19th, I held a free online meditation because the portal that opened during the lunar eclipse during the full moon has not happened for over 600 years. It was an awesome portal, and it was a time for major release and bringing in all new energies. And so I had a free online meditation, and I do, we probably spent an hour doing a spontaneous teaching based on what people asked me. So people ask me questions, and then I create a guided meditation to deal with the issues they asked about. And that was free. The next one will be December 23rd, because we have another massive change on the 23rd, the 24th, and the 25th. If you follow astrology, I'm not an astrologer, but I follow some really, really cool astrologers. And so the 23rd, I will have another free meditation. And so we do, a talk based on what people are asking me. And I always meditate ahead of time and ask my helpers, what should I talk about? What kind of meditation do I do? Is there any downloads? And I do a group healing, and like on the 19th, some DNA changes and some downloads came through for everyone. So I never know ahead of time what's going to happen, because it just comes in the moment, and it comes through me. It's not from me, which is why I use the name Dancing Bear. So if you go to my app, I have a write-up about how I got the name. It's a bit much to tell the whole story here. But Dancing Bear is the collective. So Dr. Beverly's my ego. When I use Dancing Bear, that's my healing. So all of my healing practice and metaphysics and everything is Dancing Bear. And that's my collective. So the first spirit that came to me was Green Tara. The last day of my shamanic training, this green ball of energy is floating towards me. And I knew it was conscious. I didn't know who it was. And it came into me, and I literally went into convulsions. And the teacher saw me, and he comes over and pulls her out of me. And I just had too many blockages to hold her energy. So I had to work on clearing my channels and opening my channels. So part of what I do in my program is I give people a lot of downloads to open their channels. And she said her name, and I couldn't understand it, but I knew it started with an H. For some reason, I thought she was Celtic. And I kept saying, are you so-and-so? Are you so-and-so? I kept doing research, and she says, no, keep doing your research. Then one day I'm at Morro Bay, and there's this Tibetan shop in there. And it was like something grabbed me and pulled me in. And I went in, and this little teeny book made in Tibet falls off the shelf. And it's like paper, thin paper. And I'm looking through it, and right there, Harit. Oh, Harit, Green Tara. Well, Harit is green in Sanskrit. And so I said, are you Harit? Yes, I'm Green Tara. So I thought, I'm hallucinating. I'm making this stuff up. What's the matter with me? Because this was decades ago, early in my journey. And so I called Irving first, and I said, this being came to me, and she says she's Green Tara. What's going on? And he says, well, hold on. And he does a reading. He says, yeah, it's really Green Tara, and she's really there. And she's taught me a number of things, told me to go get, I'm really into stones and crystals and stuff, and knew a lot about them. And she says, you have to get purple and green fluorite. I said, there's no such thing. There's purple fluorite, there's green fluorite. There is no purple and green fluorite. Well, we had opened up trade with China. It only exists coming from China. And the next time I went to a gem show, there was purple and green fluorite everywhere. I went, oh my God. And so I got purple and green fluorite. And so these are my meditation tools here. This is what I use when I meditate, one in one hand, one in the other. And, when you learn something that you didn't know about something you know a lot about from the other side, you're not making it up. Because that's one of the big concerns. Oh, I'm just making all this up. But when you start getting information that you had no way of knowing, and it turns out to be true, then you start to trust it. And eventually Metatron came to me, and he's the one that helps me with my writing. And he's the one that helps me with my books and my classes. And then I have some other beings that work with me, and some other angels. I work with the archangels, especially for protection. I've studied the Kabbalah and a number of other teachings. So I have a host of beings. So when I say Dancing Bear, it's that collective. It's the community through the veil that I work with. Oh, that's the other thing. I've always been able to see through the veil. So I see all these beings around, and I have I clear spaces and entities out of people. And I have friends that, one friend, every time she moves someplace that's full of entities. She calls me, Beverly, help! I see ghosts all over the place. So I'll just say, okay, I'll clear them for you. And I do it remotely. I don't have to be there. Clear it out. So that's another thing that I don't know how I know how to do that. I just know how to send them into the light. No one taught me that. They just said, send those into the light. Okay. And I just knew how to do it. So I think sometimes we get downloads and we don't know. When I get a download, I feel the energy coming down through my crown chakra. Then I have to ask, what was that? Several times, though, I've gotten a flash of blue light right into the third eye. And I immediately know what I know when that happens. So when I get it this way, I have to find out what I got. When I get it this way, I immediately know what I know. It's kind of, I don't know why it's different when you get it through the third eye versus, because it's just colored light this way. But anyway.
If you are so open to other beings and entities, how do you protect yourself? Because what I see is, as well, I'm open to other beings, and I'm also open to people. I can read their Akashic records, and if I'm not protecting myself, I get so much information, it's overwhelming. It's like everybody is shouting at me, and like, no, silence, please, I'm doing now something else. And how do you protect yourself from all this?
Well, Archangel Metatron modified something I learned with the Kabbalah. So with the Kabbalah, you call in Archangel Michael to one side, Archangel Gabriel to the other, Archangel Uriel in the front, Archangel Raphael in the back, and you ask them for protection, and then they each have their own gift that comes with their protection. Then Metatron says, add me to the top. So I bring in 5 archangels. Then I bring in Mother Earth from the bottom. So basically it's 3D protection, but Mother Earth, I ask her to ground me, to center me, and centering means centered in your heart. Some people don't know what centered means. And fill my soul, my every cell in my body with her love and healing energy. And then I call in, because that's Mother Earth, Gaia, then I call in Father Sun and ask him to fill me with his yang love and energy. And then I say, integrate the yin and the yang together to make me whole, complete, and protected. And then I go to the center of the galaxy. The center of the galaxy is also intelligent. Okay, you know, all the planets, suns, everything has intelligence. And so the center of the galaxy is basically the father of everything in the galaxy. Well, father, mother, it's both. So everything in this galaxy comes from the center of our galaxy. And each galaxy is its own center. And then, of course, there's the universal, which is all the galaxies. So I then go to the center of the galaxy, what's the name of our galaxy? I just
Milky Way.
Milky Way, thank you. I'm originally from Andromeda, so it's like I had Andromeda in my head. Milky Way is our mother father here. So when I get there, then I ask for the violet light from that center to come through and fill me. And I do that at least once a day. And I do that in some form at the beginning of all my meditations. And I try to live in a state of gratitude all day long. And if I fall out, then I have to, so everything I'm doing, oh, thank you for this, thank you for that. You know, I pray before every meal, and I re-ask for the protection and the blessings. So when you stay that way, number one, you're not going to get some false entity. So I never channel. I don't recommend channeling. You don't know who you have. I use telepathy. I've been telepathic. Well, if you're an empath, you're telepathic because you're feeling what's going on in other people. And so it's like if your mom calls you on the phone, if you have a mom, you know that's your mom. They don't have to say, this is your mom, this is your brother, this is your sister, right? They just call and say, hey, or your best friend. They don't say, this is so-and-so, right? They just say, hi, because you know them, that you're connected. And that's the relationship I have with my helpers. I know who's there. Then I recently found out I'm a medium. Now, dead people have been coming to me for a long time, giving me messages to give to somebody. A friend of mine, I helped her sister pass, and then afterwards her sister came to me and gave me a message. When my dad died, I was driving, and all of a sudden he's next to me in the car. And then I found out that means you're a medium. I, I never even thought about it, so I guess I'm a medium as well.
Well, this sounds crazy. You are driving and at this time, like, wish there's someone next to you and, oh, this is my father. And so
He just died.
he just died. Okay.
Yeah, I almost drove off the road. I was like, oh my God. Luckily, there were no other cars. I was like, oh my God. Yeah, it's kind of strange. But I never call in the dead. I did when my mother died. And she came to me and said, never call in the dead. And one of the Buddhas I studied with said, never call in the dead. So I never call them in. So if people contact me and say, can you contact my whoever? No. But if I'm with you and they have a message, so, I'll hear my name and it usually comes from this side and, I'll look who's calling me and there's no one there. And I go, oh, and then I don't turn and I just listen. And then I say, who are you? What's your message? Who's it for? And then I give them the message. So yeah, that happens to me sometimes as well.
We have to be connected to the people, like, no, now we are speaking, and then, like, for example, the dead people or the soul of this person would appear to you and speak to you, or is it like you are having breakfast and just there is someone speaking to you?
No, it's always been, when I'm awake, it's always been someone that I knew. In my dreams, that's different. I will have dreams like when I was an atheist, I was very down on religion. Whole nother story. I won't go into it now, but um, uh, and so when I realized, oh, I'm not an atheist, I I used to say I don't believe in this bearded God on a throne up in the sky, and I don't believe in this, and I don't believe in that. I'm just spiritual. Well, I had this vivid dream where this bearded guy, the epitome of the guy sitting on a throne, comes to me and said, don't tell people there is no God that's a bearded guy sitting on a throne, because if enough people believe it, that's what they manifest. And if they believe that Allah is this, that's what they manifest. So for them, it exists. And I went, oh. And that's why now, whatever your belief system is, it's okay. I realized that that's the journey you're on, that's what you believe, and therefore it does exist, and it exists for you, because we each live in our own universe. We each have our own reality. So I had to learn to respect everybody's reality, not just mine. And I've had a friend of mine does a special kind of meditation, and I like learning all different kinds of meditation, and it's one from India. And they do this reading. So you go and you have this reading, and the guy was with me doing this reading, and he excused himself. I don't know if he had to go to the bathroom or what, but he walked out of the room and said, I'll be right back. While he was gone, their spiritual teacher, who is in India, comes to me. I could see him in his house. He was alive at the time. I could see the house, what it looked like. I could see the tile floor and all this stuff, and he gave me this teaching. And afterwards, I went to my friend who's actually been to his house and met him. And I said, I saw his house, and this is what the floor looked like, and blah, blah, blah. And she said, that's exactly what his house looks like. So it's like I was there with him, and I said, and this is what he taught me. And that night, he and Jesus came to me together in a dream and told me that that meditation style is too elementary for me, that it's for people whose soul is still evolving. I needed a different kind of meditation. So that program wasn't a good program for me to be in. I said, okay. And I don't know why he came with Jesus, but the two of them came and that was their message. So sometimes, yeah, I get people in my dreams. Now, the dimensions, I'm going to say something weird. I don't know if your audience can handle this.
Absolutely.
There's multiple dimensions and they have been collapsing. And for years, I would have dreams where I would see myself talking and using different languages that I don't know, but I would recognize the language. And sometimes I would be using a language I didn't even know, but the people I was talking to understood. And I realized that was me in other dimensions, and I was just seeing myself in other dimensions.
So you were so you were speaking something like language, or what do you mean?
That too.
Yeah, or that too. Okay.
But other just languages on Earth, or I don't know, maybe it was not even on Earth. It was because the dreams, you see the people in you, not necessarily all the background. And I would hear them in my dream, because I'm a lucid dreamer. Sometimes I wake up and I don't know if I was asleep or not. I have to think, can you open your eyes? Can you move a finger? You know, okay, that's a dream. And as these dimensions have been collapsing, so the last 10 years or so, our dimensions have been collapsing into one. I no longer have those dreams. And I'm meeting people, and I'll give you an example. One of the people at my summit, I had some awesome people at my last summit. One of them is Jaja, she's in Greece. And she said her helpers told her that reincarnation on Earth stopped in 1970. Well, my daughter was born in 74, and we both know each other from a past life, and we both remember that life, so that was later than 70. My mother has already reincarnated. She's my grandniece, and everyone in my family agrees, yeah, she's an incarnation of my mother. That was in 95, so that didn't work. Well, then I met another woman who said, no, it stopped in 2017. And when I did a reading, I asked, when did it stop for my reality? And they said 2012. And what I realized is as the timelines collapsed, we have different memories from our different timelines. So I think they call it the Magellan effect. So some people say, oh, I thought this used to be like this, and now it's like that. And that's what's been happening as these timelines collapse. So we're now on a set timeline of where we're going. And there's very little chance. I've heard some people say there's a 17% chance of change, which means there's like, what, 83% chance of we're now on a set trajectory of awakening, which is how we're going to get fully into the Aquarian age. We're not fully in it yet, but we're on our way. And that's why some people will say, well, it's like this, and other people say, well, it's like that. So I realize I just have to honor whatever people say. And if you study with different spiritual teachers and they have a slightly different take on things, that's okay. It just means they came from that other timeline. If that makes sense.
Okay. So what do you see, if you can see something for the next years, for the future anyhow? So is there something that you already can feel, or that comes into your mind? Are there any downloads or anything?
Well, in the 90s, I used to have horrific nightmares about what was coming. And around 1999, all of that stopped. And people were coming to me, they thought, oh, it's the end of the world when 2000 comes. I said, no, it's not. It's going to be fine. And it was. And then people saying, oh, 2012. And I said, no, it's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the calendar. It's the reset. We will be in alignment. So in other words, Earth will have gone, our solar system will have gone all the way around the galaxy and back again. That's what the Mayan calendar was about. So we're back into that flow. There's, if you look at the toroidal vortex of the universe, we're in that wedge. So you go through it twice, but it's like your solar return or your Saturn return or whatever. It's our solar system return in the galaxy. And so now we're supposed to go into this age of peace for 1,000 years. To get there, we have to change. We can't continue to have wars. We can't continue to have, okay, I want to be political, the CIA going out and destroying countries to put in a new potentate. That's a bad karma the United States has. And so the people on the left in the United States, I don't know what you call them in other countries, but we have what we call the liberals here. They have certain opinions, some of them not based on logic, but we need to listen to those opinions because some of them are actually right. Maybe the implementation's not so cool, maybe some of the things they're doing in illogic, but there should never be people who are homeless. There never should be people who are hungry. There never should be people out on the street. We should be taking care of each other because we're all one. I agree with the liberals on that side. Then you look at the conservatives or the right-wingers or what have you, and, oh, we've got to have all these guns, and we've got to have, and if you piss me off, I'm going to shoot you. And, well, both sides are right and both sides are wrong. So we have to break down that structure and come together with a new structure. What that is depends on how many people we can wake up. So is that going to happen? It's happening right now. Change is difficult because change requires, it's like the caterpillar creates a cocoon, becomes a liquid, and he comes out the butterfly. Right now we're becoming liquid. We're the caterpillars becoming liquid. And eventually we're going to realize that we have to evolve and come out the butterfly and have our 1,000 years of peace. But going through that liquid phase is not easy, and it's not fun, and lots of people are getting hurt and dying, and all we can do is pray and set our intention that health and happiness and peace and love and harmony is our path. And at the same time, we have to visualize what that will look like. Now, I don't really like the UN, very corrupt, but they have a Venus project. I don't know if you follow that, where they're creating these communities, and people will have a house with land where they can grow their own food, and then some people will want to live closer in, like in an apartment. So different people will have different kinds of structure they live in, depending. A lot of young people like to be together because they're young. They want to meet more young people. Other people want to have a family. Maybe they want a yard and be away from the city congestion. So the Venus Project is about a community that's self-contained and self-sustaining. And everyone has a place to live, and it's somewhat utopian, but it does sound pretty good. And there's lots of places, there's lots of land if everyone didn't live on the coast to do those kinds of communities where it's bottom up, where we control our lives at the bottom level, not at the top. So instead of some UN or big president or something telling us what to do, we tell the president what we need. You represent us. And that's what we don't have right now. We have a dictator, at least in the United States. I don't know how it is elsewhere.
It is everywhere. I think it is everywhere the same. So I can see everywhere the same structures. But I also can see that these kind of projects are rising everywhere. So we have, I'm in Madeira at the moment, and we have a lot of people that want to create exactly these kind of structures here. And I think what you said, that we are right in this time at a kind of tipping point, and we have to decide in which direction we manifest our future. And I see a lot of destruction on the one hand, but I also feel that a lot of people are awakening and understand that we can't go forward like we have done all the hundreds and thousands of years we have been through, but that we need to create something different, and that the power will come back to the people, and like this sustainable communities, and all the perhaps the new technology that will come in again, like having free electricity and all this kind of stuff. So I think that a lot of things are happening right now in one and the other direction, and it's about us where we want to go and what we want to create. Yes.
Well, the Aquarian age is about technology. Now, I don't believe that we should become cyborgs and have all these implants, but there is a thing called med beds. I don't know if you've heard of them. Yeah. They exist. We don't have to have these toxic cell phones that have lithium batteries that are toxic, and electrical cars are actually worse than gasoline cars because of the lithium and the destruction of the earth harvesting the lithium, which is carcinogenic. People that work in lithium factories are getting cancer. People that live near the factories get cancer. That is not the answer. Free electricity is available. So imagine we have free electricity, we have all these electrical components, and we have these really smart robots. You know, now people, instead of, you know, hiring the underprivileged to be our toilet cleaners and our maids, we let the robots do that kind of work, and everybody can have a life where they either can spend it in contemplation, like that's what I would do, and teaching others, or we can actually go to work and program the robots or build the robots or whatever turns us on. And there's these flat screen devices that are, you know, they're like just a sheet of glass, so they're non-toxic, and they can do everything and more from what our cell phones do. They now have computers that use light for memory. So if you take a memory the size of the end of the tip of my small finger, that will hold everything that we know on Earth, in the universe, in that much space. And they're building computers like that. So imagine a computer like that. There's no secrets anymore. The processors are so fast, you don't have any kind of algorithm that's going to outsmart that kind of a computer. So we're going into an age where there's no more secrets. You can't hide anything. And we have to take responsibility for what we think and what we do and how we act. And that's going to be a challenge for people, because everybody fell asleep. I'm sorry if you think you were awake, but everybody fell asleep, and look what's happened. Look what happened to the earth, whole earth, because we weren't taking responsibility for the earth. I know some people that have. I know a guy that calls himself a tree hugger. He has no home. He literally lives in the woods. I've actually met several people like that. They literally live in the woods trying to protect the earth. I have another friend who has a big bus type mobile home, and she and her husband travel around doing healing energy in different parts of the earth. So there are people like that today, but it has to be all of us. Every time I have to buy recycle pickup because they don't have it in my city. So I pay extra to recycle. But every time I have to throw something away because I realize it'll take more water to clean it than it's worth recycling it, I say, forgive me, Mother Earth, as I throw it in the trash instead of in the recycle bin. Because that's the kind of responsibility we have to start taking. Is we can't just throw everything away. And we can start using hemp. Everything that you have that's plastic is toxic, and everything you have that's plastic can be replaced with hemp. We do not need to cut down trees to build houses. We can use hemp bricks. With hemp bricks, you won't need to heat your home, you won't need to cool your home, because it'll stay a nice constant temperature. So there's so much we could do that's different, but it requires changes to industry, changes to thinking, changes to, well, I'm used to having a house with sheetrock. Well, sheetrock off-gases formaldehyde. It's very toxic. You shouldn't be using sheetrock to build your house. You know, but that's what we're used to. We think it's okay. We Scotchgard our couches and our rugs. Scotchgard has formaldehyde in it. I think that's a brand name. There might be another term for what's in Scotchgard. But it's full of formaldehyde, which damages the liver. So somehow humanity has to wake up to the fact that we have to change everything. We have to be the caterpillar that just erase, start over. I heard a guy the other day say, the best thing that could happen to humanity is if we all had to go back to living like Native Americans or the natives of wherever we're from and start over. Unfortunately, if we do that, we lose everything that we've learned.
Yeah,
We
but
need to remember what we've learned and move forward from that perspective.
yeah, bring it to another level, but being aware of the old traditions and also about the old values that came with that. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So this was so interesting already. And if my people would like to know a little bit more about you, where do they find you on social media, your website? And you spoke about another summit. So also, like, where do they find all this information?
Well, there's two places you can go. The first one's the easiest to remember. It's drbeverlylawrence.com. Dr. Beverly, Beverly, Lawrence, Lawrence.com. And that has a link to my Dancing Bear Enlightenment Academy, my Dancing Bear Healing Center, ADBO Consulting, my book, my Facebook group page. I have a group page called DBE, I think it's DBEA Meditation. And then I also have a Twitter account. I'm not on TikTok. I'm not on any of the other platforms because I don't trust them. I'm only on Facebook because I have too many friends there and it's the easiest way for me to keep in touch with them. So I have that group. I have several groups, but the main group is the Dancing Bear Enlightenment Academy's group page. And all of those links are on drbeverly.com. There is a Dancing Bear Enlightenment Academy.com, and that has links for downloading my app. So if you connect there and you sign up on my email, you'll get notifications in the group page. You'll find out when my free meditations are. You'll get notifications for any classes, for the summit, for everything. So you don't have to remember all those different links. If you just remember drbeverlylawrence.com, then you'll get links to everything. And I'm in the process of redoing my other websites so that they have links for getting consulting directly or for registering for classes there. I just finished the drbeverlylawrence.com one. So the other three websites are next. I do everything myself, so it takes time. But I'm in the process of doing that now and hope to have all of those done by the end of the year. And then I have a YouTube channel, Dr. Beverly, Dancing Bear Academy, Dancing Bear Enlightenment Academy YouTube. It doesn't have enough subscriber yet to have its own private link. But if you go to Dr. Beverly, the link to the YouTube channel is there as well. And I'm going to start putting podcasts and everything out probably every Monday very, very soon. I'm doing the interviews right now, and I'll start posting those podcasts.
So I will help the audience and put the links down here in the description so that it is easy to read out to you and they don't have to write it down now, but they will all be in the description. And yeah, you do.
Well, if they connect with me and send me an email, I'm in the process of moving my email from MailChimp to Aweber, and I'll give them a free gift. So if they tell me if they send me an email and say they heard me here, I will send them a link to a free gift. But if I send them to a link to a free gift right now, they'll be on MailChimp, and I'm shutting down MailChimp. So and I didn't realize that till this morning. I went, oh darn, I should have set up one on Aweber. So if they just tell me they heard me here, I will happily send them a link when I get it set up on Aweber, which should be later this week.
Okay, so cool. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Last but not least, if you have some tips for the audience before we close this interview, what would be the tips from our audience?
meditate every day. I don't care if it's a bad meditation, do it anyway. The first person who taught me to meditate said the only bad meditation is the one you didn't do. So just do it.
Okay.
Whatever it is, whatever comes up, just do it.
Cool. So thank you so much for being my guest on the show today. And yeah, it was amazing to hear you speaking about your own story and what you're doing now and how this came together. So thank you so much.
Thank you. It was a pleasure to be here.
Okay, see you soon. Bye.
Okay, bye.
Thank you for listening or watching my podcast, Holistic Creators. If you want to know more about how I can help and support you, have a look at my website, spiritualchangemaker.com. You can also join my Facebook group, Spiritual Changemakers Community. Stay tuned for the next episode by subscribing to this channel. And you also can check the previous episodes.